Hey everybody, it's Nick, and today we're going to talk about string muting. Yay! Okay, maybe not the most exciting topic, but one that's desperately needed. If you're a player who's been playing a long time, you probably got this sorted out. But if you're fairly new, or if you just noticed that your playing is messy and you don't want it to be messy, there's ways to fix it. So I'm going to show you my approach to string muting today, and then I'll do a couple more videos after this one that kind of tie in and show you how I apply the muting to specific licks, vibrato, bending, and also how I do it in the context of music, so you can hear me play over some jam tracks and kind of hear how clean everything is, and then you can go and try that yourself. But today I just want to cover the basics of this muting technique I use. So this is not something that's a big secret. It's just for some reason I don't think it's talked about much. And I've also noticed that different players do mute slightly differently. So this isn't the only way to do it, but this way works really well for me and quite a few other professional players who I've met. And so let's talk about muting. Okay, let's get started. So I'm sitting at an angle like this so you can see what my pick hand is doing, as it's going to be doing the bulk of the muting, but also what my fret hand is doing. And what I'm going to do to illustrate this is very simple. We're going to start on the 5th fret, 6th string, and play single notes, and then I'm going to move down to the 5th fret, 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string. So in every case, I'll show you what happens with my pick hand and my fret hand. Okay, with my pick hand, you'll notice the thumb. So if I just take my thumb like that, that is what's called thumb muting, and this is what I use a lot to quiet unwanted open strings. If I'm playing notes that are higher on the treble strings, for example, you'll notice that the thumb mutes the lower string. So for example, you'll see when I demonstrate this, but if I'm on the 3rd string, 5th fret, then the thumb is covering the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings. If I'm playing on the 1st string, 5th fret, the thumb moves and covers the lowest 5 strings. So nothing could possibly ring except the note that I want to sound. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now that doesn't work using the thumb for, obviously, if I'm playing this first example here on the low E string, 5th fret. Well, I can't really use my thumb there, right? Because it's going to mute the note. That's stupid. You can't have that. Well, how are we going to mute the other strings? You could lay your thumb down across underneath the 6th string here, but the problem is you might accidentally mute the string. So here's what happens in this case. Underneath the fleshy part of the fret hand finger, you're going to mute the 5th string, the high E string. See that? This part of my finger is actually touching the high E string. And the 2nd string's still ringing, but I'll show you how I mute that. 3rd string is partially muted, 4th string is muted, as I said, the 5th string is muted. So in this case, with this note, almost everything's muted. I just need to mute out the 2nd string and possibly just add a little reinforcement. So with my pick hand fingers, I'm going to lightly just touch. I'm going to kind of hook my ring and pinky underneath the top 2 strings and just touch them there. Touch those strings. Okay. also on the G string, my middle finger's just touching that. So hopefully you can see. Now, nothing else could possibly ring here unless I make a mistake with my fret hand. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now watch what happens as I start moving to the next string. 5th string, 5th fret. Now look at the thumb on my pick hand. It's muting the 6th string. And how is it muting it? It's just touching it. It's barely touching it. It's kind of just resting there. Okay, that's one thing. So that's muting the 6th string out. What about the other strings? Once again, underneath, on the 4th string, my index finger fret hand is muting that out. Okay, and then my fret hand, my pick hand fingers are coming over and resting on the top 3 strings. So now I'm muting the low 6th string out with my thumb. The 4th string is being muted by the underside of my fret hand index. The top 3 strings are being muted by my pick hand fingers, the top 3 fingers here. Okay, nothing else can ring unless, as I said, I make a mistake or accidentally bang into something. Now if I move to the next string, the thumb moves down again. So before it wasn't being used at all on the 6th string. When I played the 5th string, 5th fret, now it's muting out the 6th string. When I'm playing the 5th fret, 4th string, now the thumb is muting out both the E and the A string. The underside of the fret hand index is muting the 3rd string, and my ring and pinky on my pick hand are muting the top 2 strings. So now I've got everything covered. That I need to have covered. Okay, now if I take the thumb away, you'll start to hear some ringing because of the open strings here. Right? Kind of messy. When I bring it back, it cuts that out. Now there always is some string noise that actually sounds kind of good. Okay, if you're playing very aggressively, you're going to have just a slight rub. But what you don't want is a bunch of extraneous noise that block out the note that you're trying to play. You should hear the note you're trying to play primarily. Okay, let's move on. So now if I play on the G string, 5th fret, now the thumb moves down even farther and it covers the 6th string, the 5th string, and the 4th string. See that? Thumb is just kind of laying against those strings, just touching them. Now the underside of my fret hand index finger is muting out the B string. And my fingers here are resting on the high E string. So now everything's muted. 6th, 5th, and 4th with the thumb. 3rd string's being played. 2nd string is being muted by the underside of the index finger and my ring finger on my pick hand. The high E is also being muted by my pinky on my pick hand and the underside of my index finger. Okay, nothing else can ring. So this is the question to ask yourself. whatever note you're playing, what are the other strings that need to be muted and how can you mute them? It's really as simple as that. If you can figure that out and just go through things that you know how to play slowly and just make sure that in every case the notes, the strings that aren't being played are being muted. Your playing will be so much cleaner you won't even be able to believe it. Okay, if we move to the next string, now we're on the B string, 5th fret. Okay, now the thumb's going to come down even farther, and it's going to mute E string, A string, D string, and G string. In this case, I'm going to use the fret hand fingers to make sure that that high string's muted, because there could be a little rub with the fret hand here. Even though if you have correct finger placement, you will mute the top string out. See, just by having your finger in the right spot. But just in case, I'm using my fingers here also, and it's also kind of just habit for me to have the fingers resting like that. Okay, so once again, all the low strings being muted out by the thumb, the second string's being played, the high E is being muted by pick hand fingers and the underside of my index finger. Okay, finally, high E string. Okay, so this is this one is everything's going to be muted here by the thumb. Okay, so 6th string, 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, all muted by the thumb. Right? This is very simple. But I get so many questions about how to keep the strings quiet. It really comes down to this. Now I will say that the thumb muting works really well for me because of how I hold the pick. And when I pick, my thumb is already really close to the strings. If you pick different, so if you pick with your hand turned out like this might be more challenging for you because your natural hand position is away from the strings. So you might need to look into some other ways to mute strings. But if you do, or if you want to try this out, if you play with your thumb closer to the strings, or if you just like to try this out, give this a shot. Okay, it applies to chords and everything else. So I'm playing a power chord like that. I'm going to mute up the 6th string with my thumb. Fingers are over here. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I didn't want to make this video too super long. Just give you the basic concepts and demonstrate. Hopefully you could see what's going on there, and I'll apply this to some certain things like vibrato, string bending, and maybe a few licks as well. Okay, hope you enjoyed that lesson. I know it's, like I said, not super exciting, but the results are definitely very exciting if you become a cleaner player and you can control noise at any volume, whether you're on stage or in your practice room. It's a great thing. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the next video. Rock on. Hey everybody, Nick Layton here. If you're into rock and roll guitar and you like Marshall amps and you like Charvel guitars and you like stuff that shreds, I think you're going to dig my free Sweet Picking Boot Camp. It's a free course. It's 25 pages. It's got video files. It's got audio files. I think you're going to really dig it. Go download it now. It's free for you. Check it out.